Hello, I'm Kevin Watson-Griffin. I'm the head of HR and I've worked at First West of England. It's now coming up for 4 years. Which has been an interest since I was a teenager actually. I started for a bit of extra cash. There was an older guy I knew and he had his own mobile disco business. So I started doing the odd thing at the weekend for him when he couldn't be bothered, and it was a good way of making extra cash. And then when I went to university, that turned into they had their own radio station, so I started doing a bit of radio broadcasting. And then everywhere I've been since then, I've always kept that up. Went to live in London and did hospital broadcasting and then community radio. Went up to the Highlands, did community radio up there. And then the wonderful world of the internet, as it started to expand in terms of what you could do with broadcasting, that's what I do now. So every Saturday, Sunday, I've got a regular show, regular listeners, and it's fun. It's amazing to sort of look at the readout on the computer and see where people are listening to around the world, because the software identifies from their IP address which country they're in. Quite a mixture. Well, that's directly related to the last question, isn't it? If I could be anything, I'd like to do Radio 3, because my main interest is classical, although I like other genres as well. That's the one I feel most at home with. That would be my dream job. But I enjoy my job here, so it'd be part-time. Well, there used to be a time when HR was called personnel, and personnel was mostly administration, and way back in the day was often staffed by people who made you a cup of tea and a bit of cake. If you got a bit upset, you went into personnel. And the common misconception is my job is all admin. It's not. It's mostly talking to people directly, or it is considering the legal implications of everything or the impact. So any decision I make, I've got to think, how will that turn out 6 months in the future? So if someone rings me for advice, I'm not just thinking about the impact today of me saying yes or no or whatever the advice is. I'm always thinking about the impact. So, most rewarding is when you've had a hand in introducing an initiative that works. A few years back when I first arrived here, I can't take all the credit for it, but we were considering how we could encourage a more diverse workforce, particularly a bigger gender mix, because we were hugely predominantly male at the time. And we thought of various ways of encouraging more women into the workplace. Now, when you think about it, childcare should be an equal responsibility nowadays, but everyone knows women still have the bulk of it, and therefore we had to look at how our shifts were constructed depending on people with school-age children to cope with. And we introduced flexible and part-time working with a specific hope that it would introduce more women, and it has. The percentage now is much healthier than it was. I see many more women around, and yeah, so that was the goal and I achieved it. I'm really proud of that. The most memorable thing at first, it goes back to when I first started here. I came in as what people call a temp, a contractor, and initially I was in for 3 to 6 months in an interim position to cover for someone to do the job head of HR permanently. And I very quickly began to realise first, and the bus industry wasn't maybe what I thought it would be, and I was enjoying it a lot more. The day though that was most memorable, I had about 2 weeks handover with my predecessor, and the day that was most memorable was the day she left. There was a presentation and various people had bought her gifts and so on, but it was how moved our then managing director James Freeman was when he spoke about working with her, and there was a bit of emotion in the room, and I suddenly started to realise what a close-knit company it was, almost like working for a big family. And that was probably the first day that I thought, I might do this job permanently if I got the opportunity. So that was particularly memorable. It was a day that changed my feeling about what this workplace was. And I liked it, and that's something I've strived for since I took on the job, because that's very much, you know, I want people to be like a family. I want people to be fond of each other. I want people to enjoy coming into work. The most challenging part of my role is people, and that's because, particularly when you have a situation in a team, for example, when two team members they consider irretrievably fallen out. It's never going to work. They're not going to be working together, and mediation can be really tricky. You're working towards a goal that those two people can work together. They don't necessarily need to like each other, but they need to show each other respect, and that can be the most difficult thing to achieve sometimes. One of the reasons I love HR is there is never an average day. One of my earliest managers said to me, don't put off to tomorrow what you can do today, because just when your diary's looking a bit empty and you think plenty of time tomorrow, then something always hits the fan. In HR, we try to be, how could I say, you try to be a fire prevention officer to prevent fires happening, but you actually turn into a firefighter, because that is your average day. You never know what's going to happen. People are people. They have unexpected issues, family problems, and yeah, there's just no such thing as an average day. I can sometimes have a to-do list on Monday, and I'm not halfway down it by Friday.